morning. Hey, you guys. It's Saturday morning, and um, welcome. If some of you are here for the first time, or some are coming back, we've been reading from this little book, this little 24-hour day book, and today is 23 days. Is it today the 23rd?
Mm-hmm.
23 days. Hi, Brian. And it's, 23 days seems like nothing, and yet, good morning, James. But it's something. I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's 23 days in this little book. We started the 1st of May, and we watched May fly by. So thank you for some of you have been here almost every day, and some of you have been here off and on, and it seems like a lifetime. What a month! What a time! Um, I've been really drawn lately. Hi, Kathy Lynn. I've been really drawn lately to listening to the teachings of Ramananda Maharishi. So he was the teacher of Papaji, who was the teacher that Muji went to and found his first enlightenment. So all of them, their teaching is really a teaching of pointing. It's not a practice type of teaching, although practice like meditation and practice doesn't seem to hurt. Although something happens in the practice, we can get stuck a bit in the practice. Ego says, if I do this type of meditation for 23 years, will I awaken? And so we can get stuck in the practice, and the same with concepts of God. We can be stuck in an idea, which is again in the mind, and when we're in the mind, we're not in the moment. We're not here. We're in thought, and their whole teaching is past thought, and their pointing is past thought, and so when we become aware of thought and practice that a little bit, just to watch, and then discover who's the watcher. Thought, the I that says I am David, I am, in recovery, I am, all of those things are just images of me. They're not really me. They're stories of me. So we can see past those to who is the I am, not who is the object of the I am, but who is the I am itself. Then we're there. Then we're in this space of emptiness, this space of bliss and quietness, the stillness, the peace. So I encourage, I recommend his path. Candace says I am. Yes. Okay, we're reading this man who wrote this little book in 1954, and the whole idea of this book was to support the movement that was happening at the time, which was called AA. And now those 12 steps that were the core of the recovery program in the AA have become, really a 12-step movement, if you will. It's being used by so many people, by NA and CA and SA and GA and EA, Emotions Anonymous. So many different ways that we have been stuck, if you will, in obsessive behavior. We've used the steps to come past that into a relationship with the I am, a relationship with this self, capital S self, with God. And so this was the early days writing, really, about how this man, and he did a very nice job. So this is May 23rd. Thought for the day. Oh, he's really filled the page today. He really has. The 12th step of AA, working with others, can be subdivided into 5 steps. Imagine. 5 words beginning with the letter C. Confidence, confession, conviction, conversion, and continuance. Hey, Milt. Welcome, buddy. Reading from the 24-hour day book. So, yeah, he says that the 12th step can be subdivided into 5 steps, 5 words beginning with the letter C. Confidence, confession, conviction, conversion, and continuance. The first thing in trying to help another alcoholic is to get his confidence. We do this by telling him our own experience with drinking so that he sees that we know what we're talking about. We share experience frankly, he will know that we are sincerely trying to help him. He will realize that he's not alone and that others have experiences as bad or worse than his. This gives him confidence that he can be helped. Do I care enough about the other alcoholic to get his confidence? That's the question from the reading of the day. And I suspect that the next couple of days are going to focus on the other C's. So confidence, confession, conviction, conversion, and continuance. The 5 C's. Never heard that before, have you? No. 5 C's of the 12th step. So also for the day here, it says the meditation of the day. Meditation for the day, May 23rd. I fail not so much when tragedy happens as I did before the happening. I fail not so much when tragedy happens as I did before the happening. By all the little things I might have done, but did not do. I must prepare for the future by doing the right thing in the right time now. If a thing should be done, I should deal with that thing. I should deal with that thing today and get it righted with God before I allow myself to undertake any new duty. I should look upon myself as performing God's errands and then coming back to him to tell him in quiet communion that the message has been delivered or the task done. Meditation for the day. Beautiful. Beautiful. We all have, often we have little tasks or little things, I do anyway, that maybe haven't been done or still lagging. I was sharing yesterday that I'm back actually doing a 4th step, and so my goal is to do something on it every day, and I'm still adding to the list. Some stuff to clean up, It's funny that I think that some of that should be cleaned up in 10 and step 10 as we go, but some stuff got left on the side last year, and maybe even before last year. So, yeah, we want to make the ship lighter so we can sail across the top of the water as opposed to drawing so much water as we go. And step 4 and 5 help us to lighten our load. And then he says, this is in this reading, the 24-hour day book reading, he has like the thought for the day, the meditation for the day, and the prayer for the day. His prayer for the day is, I pray that I may seek no credit for the results of what I do. I pray that I may leave the outcome of my actions to God. Isn't that beautiful? When we have got to a place where we just get to do our part. Hi, Beverly. We just get to do our part and leave the results up. And just know that we're it didn't begin and end with us. That it began long before us, and there is no end, no beginning and no end. And so ego wants to see a beginning and an end. Yes, well, I did this and this happened. We always want to tie everything together and cause and effect. There is no beginning and no end. So we just play our part. And when we're connected to God, to the moment, to love, we can then be told in each moment. I heard a story last night. I was listening to a speaker who lives in India, who's a Western fellow, but he's been there for many, many years, and had spent quite a bit of time with Papaji, and he told a story about an event with Papaji, and that had happened towards the end of Papaji's life, and where they read a teaching. He read a teaching very loud in a room one night, and there was a lot of people there, and they were all laughing because he was reading this teaching so loud because Papaji was deaf. And he was reading it really, really loud. It was a Buddha teaching of some sort. And 10 years later, he met a man who had been there that night, who had awakened in the middle of the chaos, who had had an awakening, and a connection, a knowing with the moment, with God, and it had stayed. This man who I'm talking about, it said that lots of times with Papaji, these awakenings would pass. They'd be like a satori that would pass, and it had stayed. And what he said had happened is that he was from Australia, and the man who had this awakening went back to his job and back to his work. And what had changed was that he used to have to work 60 hours a week in his job as an administrator in a village or in a town in Australia. And he went back and he could do his job in a third of the time because everything just flowed. And most of the teachers tell us that when we have these awakenings, we don't have to change our lives. We take the awakening into our life with us, and have life flows. And many times when we think about awakening, we think about what will happen to me, the image of me, who I think I am. We're afraid that I'll change and I'll be so different. And I remember as a young man in my 20s when I was first exploring spirituality, and I was so afraid that I had this idea that I wouldn't be able to. Actually, my fear was that I wouldn't be able to be around with as many women as I wanted to be with. And hi Rick, you were actually around at this time and when this happened. And I remember my sponsor at the time. He said, "So are you seeing a lot of women right now?" And I said, "Well, no." And he said, "Well, then maybe just let that go, because it was an illusion. It was just this idea in my mind, and I was afraid if I became too spiritual, that this thing that I had conjured up that was so important wouldn't happen." And he said, "Is it happening now?" And I said, "Well, no, it isn't." And he said, "Okay, maybe we just let that go." And to a certain degree, I did. And anyway, so whatever it is that is the impediment from crossing into this place of really trusting in each moment that there is a flow, and we can be in that flow in each moment. Just let that go, and recognize that we, they asked the monk what happened to him. What was he doing before he was enlightened? And he said he chopped wood and carried water. And they said, "Well, what happened after you were enlightened?" And he said, "Well, I chopped wood and carried water." So not to worry, life will go on. Focus though on this. Focus on this awakening, and single-mindedly focus on the possibility of a one-on-one connection with the moment, with God, and it happens. Okay, love you guys. Rick Beers, I love you. Thanks for coming. Milt, Beverly, and Nathaniel and Trevor are here this morning. It's beautiful. Okay, cheers. Have a great day, and be the love. Be the love. And oh, I know. A teacher used to tell me for years, and don't take it too seriously. Don't take it too seriously. Enjoy. Okay, love you lots.